Distinguished representatives of the non-governmental, the civil society and the business world, distinguished participants, distinguished members of the press, distinguished members of our society, welcome to our 8th International Ethics Summit, organized by our society. Since last March, as you all know, COVID-19 pandemics have affected deeply our lives, not only the business life, but at the same time in the entire social structure, a lot has changed. Of course, as you all know, during these days we cannot physically come together, and rather than freezing the world, we just decided to advance to some new methods. This is also a requirement for each and every one of us. And our society, thanks to your contribution, actually decided to organize the 8th International Ethics Summit as digital. As the Executive Committee of the Ethics and Reputation Society, and you have actually joined us, and thank you very much for honoring us by joining to our webinar today. As you all know, throughout the history, things are changing so fast. These are the rare moments in the entire history. We both at the same time have hope. We have a pandemic that actually almost paused the entire world, also at the eve of the entire climate change. We even have some difficulty to actually catch up with the pace of capitalism, that is actually the technological changes, the technological evolution. I think time is actually going so fast, and from this perspective our summit will just try to give an answer to some of the questions. We're not only aiming at actually finding answers to the questions, but rather raising our voice loud so as to have a discussion over these topics. For many long years the entire world at the same time, as you all know, faced an economic order aiming at the highest maximum possible profitability, and as we can say, capitalism, there is actually an idea, but as for the businesses, it is actually maybe cruel competitiveness. And as for the corporates, as for the criteria for success, only about how much they actually gain, and only the most powerful will survive. However, capitalism is not only about making money, but since the Neolithic revolution in the entire society, it's actually an integral whole of different actions, and trying to open up the horizon for this. For all the societies, there will be actually a generation of wealth, but it's actually quite obvious that that's not where we're trying to go. Nico Friedman stated that the only goal of the corporates is actually maximization of profit. This actually started to be questioned a lot. Firstly, at the beginning of 2000, several crises started, and Capitalism 1.0, that actually concept, hit to the wall and on different, for example, corruption crisis, and end up with 2008 economic crisis. And it was quite obvious that there is the need for the beginning of a new era. And some of the ideas started to flourish at that time. Of course, the goal of the corporates is not only actually to gain, to make money, and at the same time to compete with the rivalries. And also it is all about creating some common values, and several authors started to say it aloud. And especially for the companies are allowed to grow more, but at the same time they should contribute to the advancement of the society. That is Capitalism 2.0. It is exactly the reason why we are discussing this. Financial capital is getting more humanized, and at the same time making it one of the priorities as the public interest, and being integral with our environment. And these are all actually helping us to actually have more hopeful futures. Capitalism 2.0, looking at the main principles, I can say, it is at this point must be the business ethics, especially in the long run, having a sustainable economy and focusing on creating value for the society, and at the same time to be inclusive and covering all the players in the business world. It could be the customers, investors, the shareholders, and the entire community that we're talking about. Therefore, business ethics is actually like a mortar that is bringing up all together. The concept Capitalism 2.0, besides that, for many long years, we've been discussing about the concept of sustainability of the corporates. And there are also no developments, and I think it's very valuable to also discuss about the sustainability of the corporates. I think we're all aware of this, that social media is actually replacing the conventional press. And in today's digital world, there are several damages that the ethics or some misconduct of compliance may give. And there could be several commercial losses. It even would be quite difficult for the biggest corporations in the world to compensate for this. That's the reason why, for one company, corporation to be sustainable, it is very important to actually be compliant and to be ethical. I think what is important as much as the fiscal tables is actually at the same time all the compliance and the ethics values. It's very important for the sustainability of the company. I think for the corporations to survive, the must is actually to have a proper balance between the revenues and the expenditures. So actually, it must be a reproducible revenue. It also leads to more productivity and efficiency for that specific company. Sustainability, I can say, is for a specific company in its economic and ecological environment, what decisions are taken. And therefore, it is all about creating a long-term value. From this perspective, while we're designing the strategies of the companies, ethics and compliance is very important, and it would be a mistake if they do not put it at the center of their decision-making process. Our Turkey, before United Nations and OECD, has several conventions on anti-corruption, and the private sector at the same time is acting as a coordinator for compliance with these rules. And for the companies at the same time to make the ethical principles and culture a part of their way of doing business, and for the purpose of making all the players to abide by this, we've been working as a society for the last 10 years, and we're more than happy and proud to do so. Therefore, ethics, reputation, and compliance, all these principles and all the risks at the same time should be managed properly. Accountability, corporate responsibility, raising awareness is important. We're focusing on this, and at the same time to make this an integral part of the culture of the companies in Turkey. And we have more than 150 members and corporate members that are all leading players in their own industry. As the society, our ultimate goal is in the business ethics, in particular, to provide support to our stakeholders, but at the same time to have a holistic approach and to deploy the experiences of the best practices of the companies in Turkey, therefore to be actually a point of reference and at the same time a point of training. This is the 8th summit that we are organizing, and this turns into a global event. And this time we will have 4 different topics to be discussed in 4 different days. And in particular, we'll be discussing about paradigm shift in capitalism, colors of diversity from an inclusive perspective. You are as strong as your weakest link. Are you aware of your third-party related ethics and compliance risks and ethics by design in digital future? We at the same time will have several distinguished speakers, keynotes, panels and interviews, and we'll have a thorough understanding and discussion of each and every topic. It is really important to actually set some new thresholds and to open up new horizons. We are deeply in need of this nowadays. And we will be discussing about the ideal of a business world that actually has full compliance with the ethical rules. And at the same time, I'd like to thank to all the speakers to share their time with us, and of course you that accepting us as the guests at their houses. And thank you very much, and we're really more than happy to be here with you.